Hey, what's going on, y'all? What's going on in the chat? What's going on in the room? I want to talk about this real world situation with David and Tammy Roman. I don't know if you guys have been watching it, but let's talk about it. It's been very interesting, and I want to talk about it because I feel like the conversation that they're having is very detrimental. It's very serious. And I'm gonna talk about it. So let's get into it in a second. What's going on? What was said? What's going on? I'm gonna take time for you to get into the room. What's it say? Happy New Year! Happy New Year to you. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Let's take care of the business first. If you want to join my tribe, please hit my site. Go ahead and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. That's the little bell. Make sure you hit them on all so you get notified every time I go live. Like the video, share the video. Make sure you comment in the comment section so that we stay in the algorithm. Hey, Carol, what's going on? And that's pretty much it. Let's play the intro and let's get into it.
I'm fly, yes, I'm high, yes. Every daily wanna get to this guy, yes. Go out tonight, I just might, yes. Style cleaner than yours, so don't buy, yes. I'm so debonair, so debonair. I'm so debonair, so debonair. I'm so debonair, so debonair. I'm so debonair, so debonair.
All right, so I am back, y'all. What's going on? I don't know. Have you guys been watching The Real World? What is it called? It's like a reunion series on Paramount Plus. Have you guys been watching it? Hey, Vicky, what's going on? I'm trying to pull up what the actual name of it is. The Real World Homecoming. Happy Saturday, so Deb. Good to see you, bro. What's going on, Sassy Beach 12? Have you guys been watching The Real World Homecoming? This is season 2 from the original season. And we are dealing with David and Tammy Roman. Have you guys been watching it at all? Nobody? Has anybody been watching it? So nobody? Yes? No? Maybe so? Okay, the chat's not moving. So let's talk about what's going on here so you guys know what's going on. Hey Miss Reed, what's going on? Hey, so Deb in the chats. What was said? I haven't been watching it, but I've seen clips. It's nuts how backwards those non-people of color are. I don't watch it. I'm just here for support. Okay. So this week they were talking about Black Lives Matter. And we've had this conversation on this channel about Black Lives Matter, what it really means. And so Tammy thought that this was a great space to bring awareness, which was dope. I'm very biased when it comes to Tammy. Mimi Twin, update me on. I haven't been watching. Okay, got you. So this week they had a conversation about basically Black Lives Matter. They were talking about, I guess, the white people in the house understanding what that means for the support of Black people. Tammy was basically saying, like, we need y'all to step up and say something with your friend groups. So, because Black Lives Matter don't move unless white people understand what this means. David, on the other hand, was saying that, it's basically an all lives matter movement. And, I've been fighting for David this whole time, but this episode right here, I can't really deal with David. Because David has been an entire mess this episode. I know he's been a mess other episodes, but this one, I really could not agree with him. I have to send out kudos to Tammy because she really handled this very, 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 very well with the white people in the house about how to help the Black Lives Matter movement moves. But I also want people to understand what they did not even express. Um, Black Lives Matter is not about Black people coming together for Black Lives Mattering. It's about police brutality. That's what Black Lives Matter is about. No one ever brought that up, and maybe David didn't know to say that because what he said could have made sense, but he never said it, so I can't give him that pass. I also feel like he's trying to pay Tami back for what she did to him while they were on the show. Hey, Spring. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Um, so David basically says, "Hey, Nikki Pooh, how are you doing?" David basically says, like, "Yo, Black people are killing Black people the most, more than anybody else. I feel like we should start there." Tammy is like, "No, we need for everybody to understand that Black lives really matter." And to me, I understand both parts, but I don't think that Black Lives Matter movement meant what Tammy was saying. Because again, Black Lives Matter is about police brutality. It's not about Black Lives Mattering. We have that own struggle amongst us as Black people. That has never been really addressed. So they go through this whole thing. Tammy basically she stands up for Black lives and while the white people should understand it. One of the white guys said the N word. Tammy went off. Then Irene said it because I think she's Latino. She thought she could say it, and they was like, "Whoa, you can't say it either." I remember watching the original back in the '90s, baby. It was real, yes. So they're going back and readdressing these situations. So I feel like this. One, Tammy was sitting on the right side of right when she made these comments. What was said the origination of Black Lives Matter is a joke, but the movement and idea is so important. It's about Black people still fighting for the rights to be seen and treated as humans. For police brutality, like look it up. You can look it up. Black Lives Matter means it's only for police brutality. It's not about Black people like coming together. It's not about Black people supporting each other. It's about police brutality. That's it. I've had this argument for a lot of times because you have to look at what it means. What's going on, BJ Des? It's not Black Lives Matter should have been named something different because it's the title is very misleading. Because again, it's about police brutality, meaning Black Lives Matter when it comes to police, not Black Lives Matter meaning, Black men support Black women, sexuality, different skin tones, good or bad hair. That's not what Black Lives Matter means. It's about police brutality, and that's it. If you've ever been to one of the marches, you understand that as well. It doesn't mean that Black Lives Matter to us if they want everybody else to understand that Black Lives Matter. The point about us mattering for each other is another movement that has never been made, and somebody needs to start that. But I understood Tammy's argument with David because she was like, I wanted you to stand up for Black men. Because right now you're making it seem like all lives matter, which he was. He was. But it didn't turn out very well for them to the point where she called her husband and made it worse. So for me, I guess a lot of y'all haven't watched this, so I can't really even relate to it. But what Tammy did to me was very damaging. Because what she did was she called her husband on David, the other Black guy in the house. And she had every right to call him because David was being very problematic. He was going back and forth behind her back. What's going on, J Love 97? He's walking behind her back on the phone, talking to people on the phone. It sounded very problematic for me. And before all this happened, I was riding with Tammy. because she wanted David to like stand 10 toes down with the fact that this means a lot for us as Black people. But David wasn't getting it. He was not getting it at all. E bought that bag. Who is E and what is the bag? David was not getting what she was saying at all. And it left Tami sitting there defending Black people by herself. I was extremely disappointed with David. And y'all know I've been riding with David for this whole thing. But I was extremely disappointed in David for this episode altogether. She brought that bag of confusion. No, she actually really didn't. David did. Yes, Spring. David did, because David sat there, and while she was saying why white people should understand the Black Lives Movement was because they had to sit in a place where they go tell their friends, like, this is why Black Lives Matter. Even though that's not what the Black Lives Matter movement is about, she was right on what she said. David, I feel like he was very dismissive of what the movement was about. I felt like he kind of took that moment to pay her back from the past. I was really sad for David because he was so on the defense that he could not really understand the conversation, because they asked him, I think Tami asked him, he said, well, what do you do if somebody said something about his daughter? And he was like, don't talk about my family. So Tami was like, well, what if your daughter has a Black son? And he disregarded what she said, and he went back to his daughter. And she said, let me repeat what I'm saying. What if your daughter has a Black son? You know, what does she do? Like, how does she handle this? I feel like David is so damaged from what happened to him. He doesn't get it at all. And I think that the conversation should have kept going. All subject, can we see your forehead? She was trying to make him understand, and he didn't. Right. And I do get that. I do get that part. I think that they were both damaging in this episode, though, because her calling her husband for them to fight or for that altercation made it even worse. And even she admitted that. I think in hindsight, she should have thought about her decision, because David hasn't been very rational at all. David was determined to misunderstand Tami. Yep, that's very true. There was never a chance in him changing his mind. Yes. Again, I think that David's goal is to get Tami back from what she did to him 28 years ago. I was very disturbed by this episode. I was very disturbed because I feel like Tami and David dropped the ball so bad. And to hear the people in the house saying, well, I don't want my family to come over here because there's so much animosity. You know, I'm making Rice Krispie treats. I know this is her husband's favorite food. Maybe I gave him, like, it looks so bad for us as Black people. I wish someone there could have had a better insight on what they were doing. J. Esco 32, hey, so Dev, this past episode was intense. After 2 edibles, I was shook. Listen, it was a bad look for sure. Yes. I wish that Tami wouldn't have dumbed down into it and just kept doing what she was doing, because y'all know Tami has been very problematic to me. But this episode, she was doing so good until she got into it with David. Hey, protect my energy, AAC. And she said, hey, so Deb and the tribe. She made Reggie look like a fool. And I just didn't like it. David made himself look like a fool. I didn't like it. There was such an opportunity for them to really show unity and to express the Black Lives Mattering situation in a different way, that they just didn't do it. I felt really bad for both of them because they both played into the part. J Love 97, he couldn't hear her. He is so hurt. There is no coming together. Yeah. I want to know in the chat who's watching this season on Paramount Plus. Who's watching it? Put a 1 in the chat if you're watching it. You're not watching it? Okay. I think it would bring up some really important conversations if people were watching it. Okay, J Love is watching it. J Esco's watching it. And Spring is watching it. I will send it to you tomorrow. Spring, J Esco, and J Love. Were y'all cringing during this conversation with them and the whole altercation with them? Were y'all cringing? It was very cringeful for me. JA, so Deb looking healthy. I like your hair. Thank you so much, JA. Tami would be great for Celebrity Big Brother. She just doesn't make me happy right now. What was the point of her calling her husband? She called her husband for a really good reason, honestly. For me, looking at it, because she didn't want to argue with this man. So I did get that part. But what he came to do made it more problematic for Black people because he came in to fight David. He came into it almost looked like we can't talk as Black people. It has to be like a aggressive moment because we're not getting along. Because just like she was talking to her husband on the phone, David was on the phone too. Now David was taunting her, walking back and forth, talking shit behind her back. But I wanted Reggie to come in a different energy. Like, yo, like we can't do this. If y'all want to argue, like do this off the show, not in front of these people, because the white people on that show showed why this was wrong. Someone rerouted me back to Once Upon a Time, so I've been stuck in that show. Oh my God, listen. I hope you are enjoying it. I was. Hey, so that what's going on, Lorraine Brown? Yes. It's great, extremely cringy. Yes. Just gonna know Tami needs to continue to be solo. And so that Tami fighting about something that happened 30 years ago. Tami too old to be holding grudges. Yes. So Reggie came to the house. Yes, Reggie came to the house. Cut these cameras. First of all, you know you're on a reality show. They're not cutting these cameras off. They're not cutting them off. He's looking for David. I mean, they knew that production was not letting Reggie and David meet, period. I don't know what Tami thought. There were so many men in the house that could have done a better job with David, so that she had to embarrass her husband, to me, in my personal opinion. Because they're like, we're gonna lock him upstairs we're gonna take him upstairs to the rooftop. Like they had plans to separate Tami and David. Production was there. But Tami bringing Reggie made it worse. It was you talking about. I know it was me. I know it was me. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm on season 5 right now. But I really wanted them to handle this very differently. I mean, I didn't know they were going to bring up race issues. David was so lucky he wasn't. He was very lucky. First of all, I didn't even know how big that Reggie was until I seen this episode. Reggie is a big dude. If they sat down and had a conversation man to man, I think that would have been so much better. But I think him getting caught in already heated situation made it work. Yes. And I wish that Tami would have used that moment to show that, to show, yo, this is what's going on here. Maybe because maybe David hasn't. I can't say David hasn't experienced it because they were showing flashbacks about David saying that he has. Hey, Sherelle, what happened when Reggie got to the house? When Reggie got to the house, he couldn't find David because production had took David out the house. So Reggie's looking all over the house for David. David's nowhere to be found. He walks outside. He's saying, I'm going to sit outside. Production is like, no, we have David basically confined somewhere. You can't get to him. And so Reggie ended up leaving, and I think they put David into like a hotel or something. It sounded childish to me. It was very childish. It was very childish. Very childish. Yes, J Love. What's going on, Fran? But I didn't blame Tami for calling her husband because I'm not going to keep going back and forth with this man. And I think that's where my confusion is at because one, I don't blame her for calling him. What I do blame her for is it makes us look bad when she does come to the house. I mean, when he does come to the house, it's the clash of the titans. Reggie did not come there to talk. Reggie didn't come there for understanding. Reggie came to fight. Reggie was on 10. This is like Tami on Basketball Wives for me, watching it. And I didn't like it. I'm like, if we're talking about what Black Lives Matter movement means and Black people coming together and these white people supporting Black people, you calling Reggie to come off on 10 like this doesn't help the situation at all. AC says, back up a little bit. What made Tami call Reggie? Because David was walking back and forth behind her talking shit on the phone. He would not stop. And she kept on saying, like, you know, what are you doing? So her calling Reggie she should have called Reggie. But there should have been an understanding like, Reggie, because we're having a sensitive conversation as Black men, let's come in this way. Don't come in here on 10 trying to fight. Let's sit down man to man and have a conversation. And I think that's where the confusion comes on for everybody. David was so disrespectful to her. He was. I'm not disagreeing on that. I'm definitely not disagreeing on that. But I think that Reggie could have came in and really changed that narrative of how we deal with each other. Reggie should have came after emotions calmed down. I so agree with that, J Love 97. I agree with that. Or if he didn't come in to bring the energy down, not to fight David because he's disrespecting your wife. Because honestly, I think that's a hard conversation, period. And from what David said, his experiences and his mentality is not the same as Tami's or a lot of Black people's. There are some Black people who feel like how David feels. And yes, what Tami said was very correct. David has a slave mentality. He does have a slave mentality. But maybe Reggie could have came in and just been like, yo, bro, like, first of all, let's have a man-to-man conversation. What's going on, Barbara Parker? If he's being told by his wife that another man is disrespecting her, he's going to come in hot. Right. That's very true. But I don't know. And maybe I might have missed. Well, no, he did. He did disrespect her. I just think that it was the wrong time, though. Maybe I'll cool off before they come face to face. Yeah, like, I think that they were both made us all look bad, honestly. It's almost like saying Black women are aggressive to me, the way that Reggie came in. Instead of Tami saying, hey, babe, you know, we're having this type of conversation. Don't come here and come in here hot, but talk to this man because he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. I think that's where it should have been at before anything. What was the rest of the house doing? Sherelle, this was my problem. This was my main problem. They were like, well, I can't call my kid, their kid's supposed to come. This is a hostile environment. Um, one of the other white guys said, make sure that he knows that I'm not David. Because, like they were afraid. And so again, I didn't realize how big Reggie was. Reggie is a big dude. So when Reggie came in, it was like, yo, I'm not David. Like they was basically like, please don't fight me. Don't hit me. It made us look bad as black people to me. And Tami admitted it, so I can't take that from her. She did admit it. She said what I was trying to portray. I put my husband in that position. And I'm like, well, I wish that you would have thought about that before you called him. Like there was a conversation that could have been had to bring Reggie in to be the hero, to say, yo, this is what it looked like for black men when it comes to Black Lives Mattering. But she let him come in like a wildfire. Like it was terrible. A wife calling her husband to fight is never acceptable. I agree. Tami should have known better. She should have. They keep saying that they were in danger a lot. Yeah, and see, that's the thing they did the last time. She's putting them back in the same thing. And that's why I didn't like it. This is my problem with Tami the first time. And she knew her husband was going to come in like that. She's married to him. Exactly. And she said he don't play about his family. She could have called him and made that a different situation. She could have made him show up to be the hero, and she failed very bad. She failed so bad on that. It's more on Tami than Reggie. I agree with that. Protect my energy. We don't know if she put 7 on 10. When she called him, she put him on 10. Because what she said, she basically said, like, I would say she said she was afraid. I'm going to just say what she said after it was over with. Basically what she said was she could have fought David if she wanted to, but because she has so many business deals going on, she called her husband. Basically, she threw him under the bus. That's what I got from her comments. I don't think Reggie should have gotten involved at all. He has the right to his opinion, and if he was being petty, talking behind her back, she should have just let him look stupid by himself. I agree with that, Miss Reed, because he wasn't trying to fight her or touch her or nothing. He was talking shit behind her back. A man shouldn't come for a woman, period. I agree with that. Sherelle, Tami set the tone of the situation on the phone. I don't think that she understands what it is to be a black man, to be in that type of situation. Any man can come into their situation fighting for their wife. But if you call your wife and say, and if she calls her husband and says, hey, yo, we're having a very touchy situation or a conversation. Can you come here and talk to these white people about what Black Lives Matter means? There's another black man in the house who doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. What he's saying doesn't make any sense. But can you come in here and explain what that means? It would have been a totally different situation. Reggie could have came in and been a hero. And I feel like Tami didn't think about that, because even when she said, I put him in a bad situation, you did. It's sad though, after all these years, they can't get past this issue. The reason why is because they ruined that man's career. And Tami was a part of it. Do you think they will make up? Honestly, I don't think that David wants to. And the reason why is because 28 years later, you apologize to me about letting these white people call me the R word. David has been probably on 10 since. The thing that stands out to me the most is this. David said when he left that show, he immediately started going for all different type of gigs. He got all the jobs he could get because he knew when that episode came out, his career was over. What should have happened was, before 28 years happened, they should have apologized to him, because when Irene said, I'm going to call the cops and scream rape, I should have said that. I said the word rape. I said the R word. That should have been corrected immediately. and it wasn't. David lost a lot because you have to realize he was on House Party 3. He was on Comic View. Like his career was going somewhere. He wanted his career to go somewhere before all this stuff happened. Why would y'all not apologize to this man and clear up that R word before this happened? 20 years later, I have so much animosity, so much resentment towards you guys that me coming into this house and y'all want to apologize and say, we should never done this, or y'all want to apologize now, it's pretty effed up. Tammy's reaction was in the moment of her anger. I agree, but she should have taken that down. To me, like there has to be some kind of they have to level out at some point. Yes, I'm angry with him. Yes, and even when she said that, she had that body dysmorphia thing. Granted, okay, yeah, that's a real thing. David did not know that 28 years ago. When Tammy walked in with that other girl and pulled the covers off the other guy, it wasn't a body dysmorphia issue. They want to see the boy's penis was hard. Like this is a whole thing. So when David did it, he thought it was a game. It was for fun. So to me, it's just like this was an opportunity to get it right, and we still messing it up. That could have gone the wrong. It could have. I'm going to tell you, my ex doesn't do communication well. If I call him and says someone was threatening me, he's not coming to talk. When you know, but she was on 10 and reacted right. And she should have waited till she was off of 10. Tammy trying to stay relevant. I agree with that. I hope this show is closure David needs for him to truly start healing, because you can literally see yes. J Love, if this is what I see. When I watch this is all that I see, is that he did, but he has to get it because Beth is still causing issues. Even in this episode, like she's still saying things that are triggering. And now he's back at it with Tammy again. Like they're not helping the situation at all. And at the end of the day, they've screwed him over. It's so old, let it go. It's not old when you call as a black man, if you let, and I hate to keep saying white women, but if you let a white woman say, I'm going to call the cops and scream the R word, that's not something you just let, it's old and you let go. That damages a black man's life. To me, David has every right to be upset. You can tell the trauma that he's had, the way he's acting while he's on the show, the trauma that came along with that. You can tell from the story that he's told about how he has not had a job, how he cannot get jobs because of what happened with that, when that was not even the case. It shows how accountable that they're holding him when they didn't hold Tammy and I want to keep saying this Beth. I think it was Beth. It wasn't the Beth. I think it was Beth. When they pulled the blink off that white guy, the front of his penis was hard. The accountability is two different things. So it's very like it's a very touchy situation, because as a black man, to have that hanging over your head, it's the kiss of death. Damn, I wasn't interested in the Real World reuniting, but it sounds like drama. That was real drama on the Real World when reality shows weren't scripted. Yeah. David's demons are eating him alive. I agree with that, Tamiko. He needs some serious therapy. I agree with that. Nothing they say can make up for what he lost. I agree with that. I so agree with that. Karen, yep. It's old, but not when the R word is involved. That's so true, Barbara Parker. That's all. That's what I want people to understand. That's where the line should have been drawn. It should not have taken 28 years for y'all to apologize for that. This man's probably going crazy over these 28 years because I can't even work because y'all put this on me. They should have brought a therapist there because they should have known that this is what they was going to be with. So I agree with this. Pink Dynamite. But they should have brought a therapist in the house, because this season was one of the most toxic seasons ever. What's going on? You say so, Deb, in chat, just passing through, not watch this. Okay. They really need to take accountability and not make excuses about it. Like, I don't think that people understand the fact that they put this umbrella over this black man like this. 28 years saying I'm sorry, don't cut it. David hasn't healed, so it's not old. Until he can get through it, he'll never let it go. I remember Beth, she's sucked my bad. You're right there. Yeah. Do you think no one will hire him now because of something that happened over the No, he has said that. He said that, he was working. They cut him from jobs because of that episode, because when it was released, they started cutting him from jobs, Sherelle. So yes, this is real. And they didn't correct it for 28 years. It's unfair. You made it over amused. They should have straightened things out as soon as the season aired. Thank you, especially Tami as a black woman. But what Tami wrote with was she never said those words. And when they talked about it in the house, she said, "Well, I never said that." But she should have checked them girls when they said it. Or maybe the next day, what Tami did was she was like, "Well, I don't be honest with you because I feel uncomfortable," which made it seem even worse. David was doomed to hell after that incident. Now, David did do some problematic things in the midst of that. When he put his pants down, David should have never done that. Never. So I can battle back and forth with that. I think that David just thought it was a joking mood because they had just done this to the guy the day before that. So I just sit on like two different sides when it comes to this. He's living with a terrible stigma and no one will touch him. That's very true. Tami was worse then than now. Yep. And we've watched Tami have so much bad behavior. I didn't watch the original Real World, but based on the clips, David acted problematic. But I thought it was wild to label him as a yes. And that's what I'm saying, J Love. A lot of people don't understand that the day before that, they went into another man's room and pulled the blankets off of him. They found if his penis was hard. Tami was there for that, laughing and joking like it was funny. That statement will follow you. It's very dangerous game to play. Absolutely. Thank you. Make it make sense. What do you think they can do to make this? There's nothing that can happen because David is his own problem now. This is where I come into the point with everybody else. At this point, now David is his own problem because they have vindicated him. But he's so angry, which he has every right to, in my opinion. I don't think he even hears the apology. I don't think he cares about it because in his prime, he's lost everything. I could not imagine being on Comic View and House Party 3. And I know he's done a lot of other things outside of those are amazing. I remember. And then getting a call while I'm working and saying, "Yo, we gotta let you go because you're problematic." And for 28 years, I sat with this, and then all of a sudden, yo, everybody's sorry. I should never said it. Honestly, to me, it sounds like I would be going to court. Nothing now. Thank you, Spring. I would be going to court because this is defamation of character. They screwed that man over royally. And I think that Tami calling Reggie over, like, I want to see how things play out for Reggie after this. I get you want to take up for your wife, but you could have sat down with that man face to face and said, "Yo, man to man, let's squash this." Because your wife put this target on this man's back for 28 years. Yes, David will have to find a way to get past it. This way deeper than we know. He can't let it go. Even his daughter is like, she don't trust these people. Honestly, I don't think David should have came back to the show. That's my real personal opinion. He shouldn't have came back. They should have apologized to him. He shouldn't have been there. He should have done like an interview afterwards They should ask, do you feel vindicated? And David should have gave his answers to that. I don't think he should have come into the house because they're putting him in more situations. They're telling he's smoking weed. He has an alcohol problem. Like they are putting so much more. They're piling shit up on him, and he may have all these issues, but y'all caused it. Y'all caused it. I have so much sympathy for him. I don't understand his views on the Black Lives Matter movement, or Black Lives, because like Tami said to him, he was like, we got to start at home. Black people are killing black people. She's like, every race is killing the same race. So I understood what she was saying with that. Sounds like the house is triggering. It's very Miss Reed. It's very triggering for him, and that's why I said he should have never came back to the house. David should, he should. Well, and I think that because he's so messed up in the head from what happened, he doesn't know how to comprehend what's going on. They should have had a therapist in that house. He probably came hoping for a public apology and thinking it'll make it better, but being around them possibly brings it all back to the surface. And I think this is what happened. I think, but when Tami brought up the fact that she has body dysmorphia, it made an excuse for her to do it for him. This is my own personal opinion, but I feel like it was an excuse. It wasn't like, I'm sorry. It was like, well, you don't know what I was going through. And he said, I didn't know what you was going through. So how can I apologize for something I did not know? I agree, so Deb. That's like going back to the scene of the crime. Why go back to a place where the trauma happened? Tamiko says, do you think that's why Dominic and Aaron didn't come back? Yep, because they foresaw what was going to happen. Yeah, I absolutely think the first season they did, everybody came back. Everybody came back. This season was one of the worst seasons, especially for black men. It was messed up. I feel like Tammy's giving her body dysmorphia thing. We should have heard about this. She's been on so many seasons, so many shows. We've never even heard of this. I know that she had diabetes. We've never heard of this. I'm not saying that she doesn't have body dysmorphia because we do know that she got her mouth wired shut during that season, but it wasn't a conversation. I also feel like if you're playing the same game that he's playing, that he played on you, why would you think that he wouldn't think it was funny? You just pulled the blanks off another guy the other day. So that everyone in the chat, hi, and all of you guys. What's going on, Adam? I just want them to. I hope that Reggie. I know this is part one, so part two will happen next week. I hope they bring Reggie in, to have a man-to-man conversation that looks good for black men. Because what they did this episode, it didn't look good for us. And for Tami to admit it on the episode makes it even worse. I knew when I watched that show, the original season, I think I was like 10 years old. I knew what David was going to go through. Now, if my 10-year-old self knew that, why these grown people don't know this? Thanks for hitting that like button. Thank you, Kyle. Kyle By, I think is how you pronounce that. Yes, guys, I don't know if I even said all that stuff at the beginning, but make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are, how many people are we away? We are 118 people away from 8,000 subscribers. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified every time I go live. And comment, please comment in the comment section of the video so y'all keep me in the algorithm as well. Good or bad, comment down there. I wish Tami has kept her issues to herself and just apologized to David. Yes, because it wasn't about that. It wasn't even about that. At first I was wondering why would he come back, but maybe it's good therapy. I hope they bring in actual therapy for the cast. Me too. Like they should have a reunion with a therapist. And I hope that David continues to do therapy after this because it was about ratings. And they're using us for them. And I don't like it. It was a really powerful scene that they played from the show. Her talking about her issues is like saying, I'm sorry, but yet. That's all I saw. That's all I seen. That's all I seen. Hey, Miss T Taylor, baby. Welcome, welcome, welcome. They need, yeah, yes. Did you say Tami had a eating disorder? It's not an eating disorder. What she was saying was it doesn't matter what her size is, she feels like she needs to be smaller. I don't remember what her reasoning was of that was. But she just said that she always feels big. So she's talked about having body dysmorphia. During that show, she had her mouth wired shut so she wouldn't eat. So maybe it is an eating disorder. I remember on Basketball Watch, Evelyn had made a comment about her getting smaller and her being sick, and she said she had diabetes. So I don't know if it's diabetes, but body dysmorphia, or if it's both of them. We don't know. Body dysmorphia just showed up before Real World showed up when this reunion showed up. So we don't know. It could be a combination of both. It could be one or the other. We don't know. Tami is a flip-flopper. Hi, and all the best of you well. Tami was always a flip-flopper. Body dysmorph. That's what she said. She went onto the real, and she talked about it. And I mean, honestly, she probably may have that issue. But I don't say she probably was. She said she had it, so she has it. But why throw that on David? And she's saying like we're going to have real conversations. A real conversation was I should have never let this go on this long. A real conversation is, yo, I apologize because you didn't know about my issue. A real conversation is, yo, as a Black woman, I'm sorry, I messed up your life. But she's not having that conversation. New to your channel, great job and hello. What's going on? Thank you for coming to the channel. Hopefully you subscribe, like the video, share the video, turn on notifications. But welcome. I'm glad to see that you're back. SoDebNair, I'm hoping you're feeling better, and I hope you can get these crazy people off your back. Are they gone? Thank you, Destin. That had nothing to do with the price of THI. Hey, listen, I'm just trying to rationalize it because, you know, it may be a real thing. But that should have happened on the real world as to why you were having this issue. Not 28 years later when you apologize to him and make an excuse about why you destroyed this man's career. We need 6 more likes. Y'all hit that like button. Thank you, Healthier. Thank you, friend. Team David. And Sandra, you know, that's fine that you're team Tami, but Tami needs to own up to her shit. Thank you, Miss Taylor, baby. You know, it's hard to be a Black man in America, period. Just like it's hard to be a Black woman. I understand both sides. I grew up around Black women. That was also a part of the issue. What was Sandra? I understand both sides. But right is right and wrong is wrong. Don't come to me with an apology, but a but. Do you think David has some responsibility to try and fix this? I think that David could try to fix this if they would just say, I'm sorry, and leave the butts out. There's no space for me, in my own personal opinion, about butts at this point, because this was 28 years ago. They destroyed. Honestly, career wise, he was doing better than anybody who left the house until that episode came out. So I don't know, Sherelle. I don't know. I want him. I think they. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And honest, this really does bother me. This question does, because I don't know. Because one, Tammy was laughing, and she was it wasn't like a very like, David, don't do this. Get off me. It was like a laughter thing. So I could see why he didn't understand the seriousness of Tammy not wanting him to pull the blanket off her. I think she just said she was naked, so maybe that could have been a red flag. But again, they were trying to get this man's penis out the day before that. So I don't know, and I think that a lot of people are on the fence with this. If you're naked, but then you want to look at another naked man's body the day before that, is this a joke? Are we playing, or is this serious? Because maybe that man didn't have body dysmorphia, but you do, but we don't know you have it. So do you hold me accountable for that 28 years later? I mean, for 28 years, and then say, yo, this is why. 28 years later? Because what if she would have said that in that moment? Would they have understood that? We don't know. Oh, we're talking about 1,000-pound sisters, or what are we talking about here? We're talking about Tami. You like who you like. I actually like Tami. I just don't like some of her behavior. Hey, Deb, I'm so confused to what actually happened between them all. Linda says this. So, and a lot of people don't remember what happened on the episode. So I'm gonna just say this, read this one more time. I want to say it was the day before this. Tami and I want to say it was Beth. I don't remember if it was Beth. I know it was one of the other girls in the house. They went into the. I'm gonna go back and watch it. I think it was a guy, Aaron. They went into the room. They pulled the blanket off of him to see if his penis was hard. Then David went into the room with them, joking with them like they did with Aaron or whoever it was, pulling the blanket off of Tami. Tami was holding on, laughing, saying, David, no, I'm going to clothes on. So to me, I'm thinking in my mind, David's thinking this is a joke because they just did it the day before this, or a few days before this with the guy. So then it became where Irene was like, Tami got serious about it. And Beth and Irene were like super overprotective. They were like her guard dogs. Irene says, I'm going to call the police and scream the R word. And it became very serious. In the midst of this, David did pull his pants down, like, yo, I'm naked too. Like, I mean, I think that David was thinking it was a joke. Like, I don't think he processed what was really going on until it got so serious, like it was too late. So that's what we're talking about. I don't even think it's about picking sides, just hold people accountable on each encounter. And I can agree with this, J Love. And David went through losing his career in the car. Yes. Yes. He was in talks with two well-known comedians and the doors closed. Yep. Oh, hell no. That's what I'm saying. Great job with the likes, y'all. Thank you for the likes, y'all. So she is so stuck up now. And she's been problematic on other shows. Basketball Wives is a main example. Don't forget about Keisha. It was Beth. Okay, Beth. Okay. Hey, y'all. Beth. Oh, and Beth is so problematic. Even on this reunion thing, the homecoming, she's even problematic even more. We all have problems and issues. Exactly. He is a comedian. Exactly. And that doesn't excuse him for Tammy's problem, because to me, it's a lack of knowledge. He did not know. And honestly, from what she participated in before that, why would David not think it was a joke on that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Beth is the type that keeps stirring the pot, and she's been doing on this. Might have been a nervous laugh for her, but all he's seen was laughing, and she thought it was a joke. Maybe. Maybe. What's going on? You got to rewind back, Chris. Problematic. Thank y'all for the likes. They were young people at the time, right? And again, I just think that because she participated in the other one, like he didn't, like I would have thought it. Thank God I wasn't in the room because I did audition. But thank God that I don't know. It just I am so I don't know how to feel on this. That's the cause of the entire thing. I don't know. I don't feel that way. Is it reasonable to hold a grudge for 28 years, even if David is the victim? What do you think? I don't think for 20 years, if you're going to say I'm sorry 20 years later, that it's reasonable. I don't think so. Beth might even be worse than Becky from New York season, who was in the last reunion series. And Becky is awful. I don't remember who that one is. So what happened just recently since the reunion started? It seems like everyone has been arguing with each other. I can't get into watch because they seem to always be going at each other. So what's been going on is the first thing they brought up was the blanket issue with Tami and David. To me, I don't understand why they didn't bring up the issue with them pulling the cover off that boy first, because it would set the tone for the entire thing. But they bring up David and Tami, which they also tell some behind the scenes things that we did not even know, which was Tami was terrified, she was petrified, she didn't have one, she only had on her bra, her panties, she ran to the bathroom, and then Beth came out like a guard dog. Um, I don't think that anybody, even what's the guy who does the country music's name? Somebody put it in the chat. True. Oh, I remember Becky. She was awful. What is this purpose of David coming to the house if he was not in forgiving mode? I don't think that he was able to forgive because I hadn't apologized to him yet. John, not Rick. His name is John. Yes. Even John was saying that he thought that he felt bad because he didn't understand what Tami was going through. So it wasn't just David. And he said he felt bad for participating in it. So it wasn't just David because John was a part of pulling the blanket. Um, Panties and bra is not naked. But I'm just telling you what she said. I think it's David. No, it was John. It was John. Yes, John. No, his name is John. Yes. John, that's the name. It's my fault. Yes. Yes. So John's correct. Yes. So even John said that he felt bad afterwards because he didn't know about the body dysmorphia thing. So if John didn't know, how in the world would David know that? And if they were doing the same thing day before this, then why would they even think that this would be a problem? So if this happened nowadays to you, do you think David's career would be in jeopardy like it was 20 years ago? I think that Tami and Beth's job would be in jeopardy for pulling that blank off that man's for trying to see if his penis was hard. And I don't think they would have made it to David. That's what I think personally. Because all of it is cringeful. And they brought it up. Then they brought up John's sexuality. John. Hey, so they would say, hey, Don Peace. They would all be like, oh, yes, because all of it is cringeful. It wasn't just the David situation. Everybody's action was cringeful. 29 years later, MTV is still giving David the angry bad guy edit. The white cast members are still trying to paint him as problematic, dangerous black guy, and Tami is still starting mess. To me, like if I was everybody who came into the house, I would try to make my right wrong. I don't think that they would be in there drinking as much, smoking, if it's weed or cigarettes, whatever it is they smoking. I don't think he'd be doing that. I think if they would have gave him a real apology, not like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, but this was what I was going through, or but I didn't know, but I was wrong because no, ain't no buts. I was wrong for saying it, for saying I'm going to call the cops and scream the R word. I see all this bias. Yep. Tami is just being Tami, and Tami has to stop. They brought David back for ratings, point blank. Period. I can't disagree with that. Did he say what his life was like for the last 28 years? How does this mean? Yes, he said that Sherelle. He said that, and this is my thing. This is why this is why I'm having an issue with it. David said he knew that when he left that house, that he needed to hurry up. He's on audition for everything, so he could get gigs before that episode came out because he knew what was going to happen to his life as a black man. And literally, what he knew happened. He got pulled into the room and said, yo, were you a part of this reality show? We got to let you go. So, yes, Beth did that. All I see is bias. Yes. Tami didn't know what it is she had herself till recently when she started going to therapy. So, of course, no one else would know what she was going through. She needs to be honest about the situation. And she needs to apologize and without the buts. Beth still don't care, and I do agree with Miss T. Beth still doesn't care because even Irene had to sit her down and say, I don't know what David is smoking. I'm just triggered because it's smoke, and I've gone through a rehab about smoking. She didn't go call David out at the table. She just walked away. They could have sat down with him and said, yo, can you not smoke at the table? Even though Tami's puffing her cigarettes away at the table. They're not calling Tami out about smoking cigarettes at the table. David said it wasn't weed. They said it was weed. Now, we don't know because we went there smelling what it was. But who knows? MTV has favorites and the ones that are protected. What's going on, Ty? Do you think Tami is a bully? I hate to say it, but yes. I mean, we've watched her do it on Basketball Wives. I mean, from real world, I already knew what it was. So I wasn't surprised from the behavior on Basketball Wives at all. They were smoking inside. They were smoking outside. They were smoking outside at the dinner table. They were on a yacht smoking. Tami smokes a cigarette, goes. David just smokes his cigarettes or his weed pen or whatever it is. But Tammy's going like this. That smoke is still coming back towards the table. I don't care what nobody says. The smoke is still coming towards the table. Yes, she can be. Tami is straight up bullying them people. She is. And then she goes on her channel and then she tries to recreate another narrative on her YouTube channel. And I'm like, girl, you need to apologize to that man for what you did to him or what you let happen to him. Because really, she's not the one who screamed the R word. That was Irene, which Irene did go on and she apologized. And Irene has been problematic to David since that. But it was because of Tami. And then she's letting it go on again. Yeah, she's a bit of a bully. I haven't watched this show, but saw some clips. I thought Tami gave smoking up. That's what I thought. The daughter definitely said that with her own basketballs and told her that she is still smoking cigarettes, which, I mean, listen, that's her choice. But I thought she gave it up too. Maybe it's medical. We don't know. And from what he's been through, I mean, I can see why he has it. Thanks, Deb, for keeping it real. No problem. Just because you're a comedian doesn't mean you get away with being a nuisance. I don't think anybody is saying that, though, Sandra. Well, she did hit Mika on the basketball watch. She bullied that girl Keisha when she left her purse at that table. Are we going to forget about Keisha? Tami was so terrible to that girl, it didn't make no sense for no reason. And David recently just had a major motorcycle accident to where he was in a coma, so his brain is affected. However, he is not using that as an excuse at all. She needs to apologize for her part in the situation. She does. Without her, it wouldn't happen. She might not didn't say it, but she didn't stop them or try to educate them on how wrong they was for saying that about a black man. It's not the time for pressing a individual charge on a black man. Well, I really wanted to drag Brandy on my. No, I love Brandy. I'm going to have to watch. I've never seen. It's on Paramount Plus. Literally, they have been antagonizing David this entire thing. I want David to leave. I want to go home and be like, I don't have to take this. I'm going home because he really needs to leave these people alone. They don't mean him any well, and they're making him look worse and worse. I mean, he's helping it. He's helping his own situation. Who was it on vacation? Who was it on vacation that she treated? That was Keisha. I mean, bad people. Poor girl didn't want to smoke, no smoke. And someone was applying all the pressure. Who was that? That was Keisha. It was Keisha. It was Royce. It was the other girl that just brought up, Mika. She ain't been nice to no damn body. I want him to leave. I don't have to take this out long. I would love to see Tami on a show with a Marley. Oh, me too. Or Jocelyn to see if she, or New York, that gives us that. Me too. I would love to see that. Beth is definitely a Karen. She was terrible to Keisha, and Shawnee was instigating as well. Yep. She was. That's what I'm saying. David wasn't her. They was her first stop. Tami hasn't been good to nobody on nothing. And then she comes back like, to me, I'm like, baby's gonna come back and vindicate herself. She has her other shows now. She's doing what she wants to do. Maybe there's gonna be a come to Jesus moment where she's gonna really like vindicate this man. And then she's doubling down on it. And the thing is, like, I really like Tami. But I just like, this is just like, I don't get it. I honestly, I just don't get it. And it's not to say that David's not to blame for anything, because David has his fault for something he's done. But for that one issue alone, like, I just think that she should have came and apologized and vindicated. I think they should, Beth, Irene, and Tami should have apologized, and no buts, no other conversation. You know, Tami could have explained about her body dysmorphia and like, you know, this is why this has happened, but I still can't blame you for this because you didn't know. I want to see her with like a Nene Leaks. Yes, Jocelyn and Marlo got that gas for her ass. Then she throws the rocks and hides her hands. Yep. Yes. I would love to see her with like, I would love to see her with like Nene Leaks and doing this. Let's see how she handles that. I'm gonna drop the link. Hopefully, you're not scared to come up here. I'm not gonna be arguing with y'all, but I do want to hear y'all's opinion on it. So if y'all do want to come up here, please click on the link. Come up, let's talk. She was wrong for bringing her hood husband in the house, acting so abrupt. Keep it between the cast, right? You know, Nene don't fight. Tami don't fight. We ain't seen Tami. We seen Tami smack people that she cannot, that will not fight her. That's it. Thanks on reviewing this. I don't have the app. Are you going to review other episodes? Yes, I did a review like one of the first episode of this. I'm gonna be following only this story, Sherelle. But I may keep up with it, and I'm gonna keep up with the next episode as well, because it's a part 2. So I will keep up with this part. Well, I think Tami comes across as aggressive with an alpha attitude. She has some unaddressed issues, and I think that would help. Also, her husband isn't very masculine. They see Tami as somebody who has made it as far as celebrity. They don't see David in the same light. They see him as less than a failure in their eyes. Sort of like help they pay David. Yeah, but if they wouldn't have screwed him up, honestly, he could have had a good career because he was on his way. She did smack Royce because Royce wasn't backing down. Hey, what's going on?
SoDebNair.
What's going on?
everything that you said, man, I agree with you 100%. And I remembered it from 29 years ago when I was watching it. At your age, I was the same age as you, and felt the same way, man. And I'm like, okay, why? Exactly what you said. Why didn't they show the whole content of it? So how it started out, I don't even think it was the same day. I mean, the day before, I think it was the same day when the girls pulled the blanket off, and that put the whole thing in content. If it was wrong
Right.
for David, then it was wrong for the girls. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Ignore me. Yeah, like I feel like people are only saying like viewing one part of this and not understanding why David thought it was funny, why David thought it wasn't a problem. And yes, it still was problematic, but there also was a reason why he felt like it was funny and that it wouldn't have been a thing for him. And I feel like if we're gonna watch the show, we're gonna hold people accountable. Let's hold everybody accountable.
But
Not just
throughout the history of reality TV, they love to paint the black people as the angry black people.
yeah.
Other than this year was the first year. I don't know if you watched Big Brother, but they had the cookout, and this was the first year where we band together and showed that we could get to number one. You know what I'm saying? But prior to that, every show they love to paint us as being the angry person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this time around, Tammy and David could have pulled themselves aside and said, "Let's show something different. Let's
Yeah.
both take accountability. We'll both show that we were wrong in the matter." You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They both played into what MTV's trying to do. Because as I said before, they're clearly the exact same narrative that they painted before. They're doing it exactly again.
Right.
Everything that they said about David before and the clips they're showing before, they're doing it now. Beth is doing her same instigating thing. The white people is doing their same thing. And then Tammy is being the black person that they're allowing to feel the fire. It's the exact same thing.
Right. I mean, it's like watching that season all over again and making it worse.
Yeah. But I don't know why David has never said, well, was it wrong when we did it, when you guys did it to us? He's never brought that up. Hey, Sherelle.
Hey, y'all.
Hey,
I
Sherelle.
was gearing to go to bed. I'm in my pajamas. But tell me if this makes sense to you, or what
Okay.
I'm trying to say. David is clearly a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But even when you're done wrong, you still have an obligation to try to fix it, or they're just going to keep going through this. So
Right.
I feel like he needs to sit down and have a logical conversation with Tammy, and don't expect her to apologize and all this. Just kind of smooth it over so he can go on. But
Right.
you think against that. You say she doesn't deserve.
But he's trying to do that, Sherelle. But every time he does it, like DeVonair says, Tammy says, but.
But
But this
who
is
is
the
it
reason why.
affecting when he doesn't apologize? I mean, who's it affecting when they don't fix it?
Well,
Well,
so
I
I think that what he really tried to do when the season happened was to apologize to her. He kept asking to have a personal conversation. He did multiple times. But she sat there with those other people in the house, and she was like, "Come down here and talk to all of us, or don't talk to none of us at all." Then she was like, "Well, if you stay here, then I'm leaving." She basically put backed him against the wall. So then they ended up making him leave. So then for 28 years later to bring him back to do the same thing again, I'm
the
like,
exact same thing again, which is showing you're not sorry. Now she had the opportunity to show that she really was sorry, but what she did was throw flame on the fire again by calling Reggie, and she knew Reggie was gonna come in. But then when she saw how serious it got, then all of a sudden, no, honey, let's back down. No, Tammy, you put your husband in that situation, and it could have went a whole different way. And luckily, it different. It didn't. Tammy's just
Ranu, this is what I'm trying to say. If Tammy's hard to talk to, right?
right.
And she's always going to be explosive and whatever. But if he doesn't try to just like talk to her in a way that she understands, because everybody communicates different, this problem's never going to resolve itself.
Well, then I'm also with SoDebNair. They should have brought in an outside mediator. Sherelle, I do school teaching, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a school teacher, and we're doing this restorative justice piece now. And so now when two parties are at odds, we bring in an outside person that has nothing to do with the situation, that mediates the situation. And that's what they should have did with this,
Yeah.
because them two aren't gonna get anywhere because they're both seeing it from their point of
Point of
view.
view, exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if MTV was really trying to have some healing, they would have brought in somebody outside to mediate that conversation. But they're
But
not about
MTV's
that.
never
They're
going to
trying-
bring in a mediator because this is ratings.
But
exactly.
I think this was the most detrimental season that they ever had, besides the one with that guy smacking the other Irene girl. I think this was one of like this. This didn't make black men look good at all. This is the second season.
Well, they didn't make black women look good either. They make us look good as a whole period.
What I'm saying, because no, Heather B held it down. The first
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this. I thought you were talking about this.
No, I'm saying as a whole, from the real world, Heather B held it down. As a black woman, she did her
Well,
thing.
you know, I disagree, because when they started, this is where I agree with what Tami said, how David didn't have her back when they was talking about this. What I didn't like about Heather B is anytime Kevin brought up the realistic situations and the truth about how black men are treated, she did exactly what Kevin said. Well, I'm not in it. I'm staying out of it. Yada yada yada. And if I'm in a situation like that, and I have a brother or sister there, and we don't live this life, I'm thinking at least you're gonna have my back and be like, no, he's right. And Heather B never did this, so I feel like she was just as complicit as the white people on that show.
I like Heather.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
I like her,
I knew.
but you guys, sometimes we gotta stand up for something. If you don't stand for something, you'll go for nothing, everything.
Well, personally, I think that what Tami should have done when she came in was let's talk about body dysmorphia. Let's absolutely do that. But also, when it comes to this situation, let's actually just address what happened on this day. Yes, I may have been going through this in my personal life. No one knew this, because I don't think she even had her mouth wired shut at this time. So yes, no one knew this. But let's at least vindicate this man and let this stigma go, because what happened here was we let these white women say, yo, I'm going to call the cops and scream the R word. Literally, like, it was like, I'm as a 10-year-old, I'm like, oh my God. As a 10-year-old, I'm like, oh my God.
But I just don't think Tami has something going on.
She does.
It's not just this show that she acts like that. It's every show that she acts like that.
Yeah.
She doesn't have. Go ahead, Ranu.
But she's extremely calculated too, guys, because if you notice, before the show even aired, she went and did a whole interview with The Real to get in front of the narrative, because afterwards she thought about everything that happened. She said, well, let me get in front of this. Tami's not sincere about her apology. She's all about the way she's looking. You notice I don't know if you guys notice, but every week after the show airs, then she comes on and gives her perspective about what's going on. And it's never her taking accountability.
That's why I'm saying she's never going to fix this. And the only person it's affecting is David.
Right.
Even though he's the victim, if he wants to move forward, he has to have a reasonable conversation on a level that she can understand. You talk to people on their level.
Right.
Because Tami, she's got, what do we think Tami's problem is? Like, what?
Messy, evil.
Evil.
She got some evil ways, you know.
Messy. Yeah.
And I would just like to see her on a show.
Do you think that it's daddy issues?
No, I just think some people got ways like that. I got people in my family.
It's an underlying problem. It's an underlying problem. And when you have, we said, body dysmorphia, that's people with those kind of disorders. It's an underlying problem. Something else is going on.
But you guys don't see, and she had it even back in the day when Tami, there's this crazy look that Tami has in her eyes. There's something going on psychologically and with Tami,
Well,
and your point about David,
out of a straw and out of a wine glass. So.
David is okay. So he has that he's dealing with. Then also he just got into a major car accident where he was in a coma, right?
I didn't even know that.
In his brain, So if MTV is really serious about some healing or whatever, they would bring professional people in to narrate these conversations. But like we all said, they're not. They're feeling like this is great for the ratings.
You're saying, and you're right. When two parties can't get along, because I hate unnecessary mess. This has went on way too long.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be. It hurts my heart to hear it. I'm glad I'm watching it through you, Deb, because I could see how. And when you first came on, you were like so uneasy. You were like, it was hard to watch. You was
Well,
like,
Terrell, black men, it makes a lot of us hard to watch, because this is what we're constantly going through.
yeah,
And like I said, I'm doing this restorative justice and all these racial equality teams. And and it's mainly white people in it, right? And I tell them for years, black men, when we get around white folks, we have to dumb ourselves down. We have to speak in a different tone, and make ourselves come across as being non-threatening. And I told him, I said, but you guys can say what you want to say, and you don't. You say, well, John's just having a bad day, yada 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 yada. If Ranu gets loud, then I'm angry, call security, and yada yada yada. And they need to come away from painting that narrative. Fair is fair.
Ranu, have you been watching this episode this season?
Yeah, I did. I've watched the Real World from the beginning.
So you heard Tami when she came outside with David after they were having the Black Lives Matter movement. She's like, I was expecting you to be on my side. Do you remember her saying that?
Yeah.
Whose side was he on?
He was on his side.
He was on his side. That's what. Yeah, it was on his side. He was basically saying like, because they were talking about Black Lives Matter. He basically what he was saying was, black people are killing black people. We need to start there first.
He said what? Say it again.
He was saying that black people are killing black people. We need to start there first.
And I agree.
Judging the world before that, which to me, I don't agree with that. I feel like we understand. Again, I always say this: we understand what the Black Lives Matter movement is about. It's not about black people coming together as a whole, as every black people, black women, black men. Your sexualities, your whatever it is. It's about police brutality against black people. Period.
But let me say this. This is why I said.
Wait. Give me a second.
Okay. Right.
It's not a come to Jesus moment for black people. It's only about police brutality. And until people understand that, they're going to keep misinterpreting the movement of the Black Lives Matter movement. It's not for all of us to come together. That's what it's about. There needs to be the title is misleading. What needs to happen is there need to be another movement for black people to come together. It doesn't matter what you are as a black person. Let's come together and fight for each other and come together and be as one so that we can fight together. But what happens is when black men get killed by the police, there are black women who say, well, we can kill by the police too. There's gay people saying the same thing. There's light-skinned people saying, well, we're still black. There's mixed race people saying we still are black. Like there's so much division in the black community that it's so hard for us to come together and say we're all fighting together. If you've ever been to any of the Black Lives Matter movements, there is discrimination amongst us in the movement.
Is that what was happening with David and Tami? He had a different point of view?
He did.
Yeah, that's basically what he said was, this is how he feels. It's not about the Black Lives Matter movement. Is about, that's how Tami feels. It's about all black people, and how we've been treated. He's like, no, it starts with us first. Now, I personally
What does that mean?
What he was saying was we need to stop killing each other.
And you don't agree with that, Devin?
Yeah, no, I do feel like that. But just like Tami said, white people kill white people. Hispanic people kill Hispanic people. Everybody kills everybody in the same race. That's not something that's like.
But we're not, as you said, we're not talking about the white people we're talking about the black movement. And this is where I've gotten into big arguments with people because I agree with David. How can we expect anybody to take us serious and we're doing all of this? Now, I don't condone what's happening to us, right? But I feel like we need to get our race together first. And this is why we can't accomplish a lot of things because we're so divided. Somehow we need to pull together and get ourselves together, then come out with this,
But it's the same way that white people are taking each other serious while they're killing each other too, or any other races on the same.
Yeah, but like you said, when we started the topic, we're not talking about each other. But like you said, we're not talking about the white folks, the mixed people, we're talking about this.
I'm answering your question. How do we take each other seriously? The same way that they do. Even though we are killing each other, our main problem is the fact that we are struggling with police brutality. That's a thing. White people are not struggling with the cops killing them. And there's other races who are not as much as black people. So there is a reason for that movement. And so when it comes down to this, yes, because I don't walk out. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Went out for a while.
But yeah, I don't even drive a car because I don't want to get pulled over by a cop. I'm so terrified of driving a car. So I just don't drive. So for me, I definitely understand the Black Lives Matter movement. I just think that the name is misleading.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So, but they couldn't even get on the same page about that.
No,
They're just too. What is the problem with these two?
I feel like David is scorned from this show, and then he went through that car accident. I think there's so much. He has so much on him. He needs therapy.
Hmm. When did he get in the car accident?
I don't remember when I don't remember when the accident was, but I know he's been through that since he left the real world.
Oh wow. Did they talk about, so everybody came back to the house, but
No, everybody
Dominic,
didn't come back. There was 2 people who didn't come back. There's guy Aaron and somebody else. I can't think of the other guy's name.
Aaron,
Yeah, there's another guy who didn't come back.
I just want them to get on the same page, but I think Tami has too many problems
Yeah.
to talk. She just, I don't know what her underlying problem is, but she's got problems.
I was actually excited to see her on the show because I was like, because she has separated herself from Basketball Wives, she has her other endeavors. Maybe she's going to come back and humanize herself a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, I mean, we're you might as well go back to Basketball Wives.
That part.
It could
And you
just
know
be
what I also don't like is, so David, when people don't agree with Tami, she starts tearing them down because she actually
Dominic
did
was the other person
start,
who went away.
huh?
Dominic was the other person who didn't come back. It was Aaron and Dominic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
Because when David didn't agree with her, she started like following him, pushing it, yada yada yada, and he kept saying, "This is my opinion. I don't want to talk about it." And to me, she threw the first attack when she called him a slave.
She called him a slave.
Well, she said he has a slave mentality.
Oh, Tam, do you realize that Tami?
But what he said, it was a slave mentality, though. So that's the
That's
thing. I don't disagree with some of the stuff that she said because in that conversation, all of it she wasn't wrong in. But
it's your approach, Deb. I can say a lot of things to a lot of people, but you have to watch how you say it. You have to say it in a way where they understand. That could be real offensive. Right. Slave mentality.
And then when somebody says, "I don't want to talk about,"
was offensive as well because what he was saying, like basically play the game, and she was like, "Well, that's what the the jigaboos did." I mean, what she said wasn't wrong. Now because they don't have the greatest relationship. Yes, it probably came off wrong to him, but it wasn't. What she said was not wrong. That is a slave mentality.
Well, what I also have to learn too is that when somebody say, "I don't want to talk about it," sometimes you just have to drop the conversation then and table it for another day. And Tami just keeps pushing and pushing and following people around, and she don't know how to let it go.
Yeah. And I think when he gave that energy back to her, that's when she called Reggie.
Exactly.
Who was a football player.
I can't agree on that because the same stuff that she does with these women on Basketball Wives is what David did. He was walking back and forth. He was on the phone talking about her. He wasn't talking directly to her. He was talking about her on the phone to, I think it was his daughter's mother. And so she started saying, like, you want to talk to a man? Let's talk to a man. And then she went into her channel and said, well, the reason why I called him was because I got too much to lose, basically.
But it would have been funny, and I've seen this in life, if Reggie would have got his ass kicked by David. I've seen little
I don't think that Reggie would have got his ass kicked. Reggie is a big man.
That don't mean nothing. I've seen little midgets beat up 6 foot tall dudes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't know what type of squabs David have.
That's true.
I feel like whenever something happens to Tami, or she gets upset, or just anything, her first emotion is always anger.
Yeah.
That's hard to deal with. That person is never rational because they're always caught up in anger. Yeah. It's so hard. She needs some help. I like Tami too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not passionate.
That's probably the Virgo in us. Like I do like her.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are both Virgos?
Yeah.
And I really want to see Tami do well, but I want her to be like well within herself.
Yeah. Also too, she's been going through things, but I don't know. her mother passed a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
But still, that
But she
doesn't.
was still
She just.
mean. She was, but this is all before her mother even passed away. She had been treating these women on Basketball Wives terrible. She's been treating this man terrible. Like Tammy, all this stuff with Tammy has happened before her mother passed away. So we can't even blame it on that.
Yeah.
But we've never seen her on shows where she's been equally yoked. Like we said earlier, I was on a show with a Nene, a Jocelyn, a Harlow, or somebody like, and see if she gives that same energy. And if she does, we'll see how it transpires.
I mean, even Evelyn, Evelyn, I thought she was, but then she was able to destroy Evelyn. So I don't know. I think she needs to be around. I would love to see around the Tammy rope. I mean, Nene Leaks. Oh, you know what? I would see around like Kenya.
Tammy likes to fight, and Jocelyn would fight her.
I don't even want around. I want around the Kenya more.
Oh, that's wrong, Deb. Huh?
Yeah, that was fun to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna watch. You're gonna do it again next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the because this is only part 1, so I want to see what happened on part 2. Then I'm gonna talk about that as well.
It's part 1. I hope that they're not gonna get it together because she did go on the Real, right?
This was before the show started, though. She was already created the narrative of the body dysmorphia. So when we heard it on the show, it was like, oh, this is why. It's because she was going to put the reason why she helped destroy David's career because of body dysmorphia. And again, I hate saying that because she probably might have that. But
she has it, but she also used it as a weapon.
Yeah, like but on Basketball Wives, when Evelyn said something about her, she never said body dysmorphia. She said she had diabetes.
Yep.
You know, she never said body dysmorphia. And so, you know, when this came out now, it's body dysmorphia. And I'm like, well, baby, it's because David didn't say nothing about her losing weight on the Real World or her, you know, about her weight. So now I got to use this part. At what point do you take accountability for what you've done?
What I like Tammy, but and what she's doing to David, Evelyn kind of did to her by teaming up with Evelyn and Shawnee, and Evelyn teaming up and kind of just, you know, Shawnee just did her wrong, I think.
Yeah.
But she still got some problems to overcome. I just feel bad for David.
I just don't understand how people can be a friend to Tammy, honestly. And that's just my own.
Well, that's true.
Because
I don't think she really has any friends
to anybody. It's like Tammy is loyal to Tammy, and she said it multiple times. Because I feel like even when they were on the Basketball Wives, when they were talking, when Evelyn was making fun of how she walks and stuff, and Shawnee's like, well, I mean, you have a whole comedy show about her, and we laugh about that. Why can't we laugh about that? It's almost like you cannot be a human around her.
Yeah.
You guys notice she and Shakana's feuding right now currently.
Who is?
Shakana and Tammy.
Why?
Some comment that Tammy done made about Shakana. You know, Shakana don't let anything go. So Shakana done did a whole live where she airing her out.
I did not see that. I have to go look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tammy's got some problems. I still like her. I ain't trying to drag her, but she.
Yeah, I like Tammy. I
don't like her.
You don't like her at all, Ronald?
No, I didn't like her from when I saw what happened in the Real World, and then everything I've seen transpire on Basketball Wives. I don't like her, and she bullies people. You know, she gets with people that ain't even on her level. You know what I'm saying? I could see if you stand toe to toe. You know, she always backed down to Shiny. She didn't give Shiny that same energy.
She did not. That's true.
She told Shawna she would pop her.
When?
I must have missed that one.
On it was an episode. I think she was talking to actually Evelyn, and she was like, because Shawna can get popped too.
Did you see the episode when she and Malaysia got into it and she backed down to Malaysia?
Well, she backed down from Brandy too.
Right.
She did not want that smoke from Brandy.
Or Malaysia. Malaysia got hands.
Well, yeah. They did. Her and Malaysia did get into it. I don't think I don't think Tammy would have done what she did to the Keishas and the Kendras and
Mika
and Brandy, because Brandy was ready to bop her.
Right.
And I think Brandy would have took her down. That's why they didn't get to the fight, because I think Brandy would have handled her very well. Malaysia would have handled her very well.
Exactly.
But Tammy never got to the point where she actually popped them.
No, and she calmed her energy down. With the other girl, she got all loud and raunchy and got in their face and then popped them.
Yeah.
She is. Remember when she got in Mika's face? Oh, I felt so bad for Mika and just beat her down. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Tammy needs therapy.
Yeah.
Some bad therapy. But
I
anyway,
really, I really wanted to get it because, like we've been saying, like I really do like Tammy. I really do. I was a
it'd be
big
cool.
Tammy fan. Even after the David thing happened, I'm like, I hope they fixed it because I didn't think that it would have lasted long. But until they came back to this, I'm like, oh my god, it's still going on. I was shocked. I'm like, nobody ever fixed this or nothing. Um, and it just made me go back, like, wow, like you really let this man go through this entire time, even though you weren't the one who said it. You let this happen on behalf of you, and never said anything about it. And so it's like, what kind of person does that?
I know. So, Ranu, when did David get in the accident?
I if I'm if I think is right, if I think right, within 2 years, between the 2 years, form, he had dreads. He was rocking dreads for a minute, and he explained that's why he cut his dreads off when he got into that motorcycle accident.
Oh, wow. Motorcycle accident. That's terrible.
Mhm.
I hope that they can work this out, but they're not going to.
They're
It'll
not.
be 28 more years. We'll be
Yeah.
senior citizens. They'll talk about Tammy and David because Tammy's not at a level where she talks, you can talk to her. And not just David, anybody. She
Yeah.
just, and sometimes you might can communicate with somebody on a level where they understand, but she just doesn't. But
Yeah.
maybe if he just, I don't know, you say you will still be mad. I think he has to just let it go, or they're gonna keep arguing about
I
this.
mean, but Sherelle, 28 years, like if she never apologized, like I could see like David let it go. But now y'all saying like, yo, we were wrong 28 years later, and I could have had a career in these 28 years. To me,
So what is holding a grudge and being angry gonna do?
I don't,
Gonna do?
nothing. But I mean, I also just understand it though. It's like, I mean, y'all let this go on for like y'all. I could have had a career during the 28 years, but because y'all never said anything, it's like, man, like I want something. I deserve something. And I mean, I get his frustration.
I get it, but I want him to get past it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't think he's
I
gonna
agree
be
with
able to do it on his own. I think he needs some outside help to help him deal with that.
He
Because
needs
like,
to get the outside that they need to come to a understanding and then move past it, even if they never spoke again. Just a mutual understanding where you get to the point where let's stop talking about this. Let's
Yeah.
just come to move
but
past.
sure,
28
also
years is a long time.
think about this. So his career was destroyed, and Tammy's career flourished. You know what
It
I'm saying?
did.
So that's something else he has to think about.
And if he
Every time I
keeps
say
going
that,
around being
yeah.
mad at her, Tammy go on about her business. She has a career. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
But she doesn't have the R word haunting her everywhere she goes either.
I know, but I think if they could show some kind of
Unity.
right, then maybe he can't go on and get a job and say, oh no, that was a misunderstanding or whatever. But right now, if they keep talking about it and bumping heads about it and arguing about it 28 years later, I mean, I know how you feel, SoDebNair, because it's unfair what happened to him.
Yeah.
But you can't just be stuck. We're stuck in 1993.
Yeah. I don't think he's grown past that. I think, going through counseling, like even when you go through traumatic things as a kid, the therapist will tell you like you may have been stopped there in your mental.
Yeah.
And I think his mental, he's stuck at
That's
that
what
time.
I'm saying. Yeah, there you go. He's stuck. A conversation needs to happen. And Ranu at this point in, somebody needs to come in and sit these two down so they could start talking and just and let it. And then after this conversation, be able to walk away and be able to, when they see each other, say hey and stuff like that. Not be best friends, but in this conversation. So he could stop being so angry and he could move forward with his life. He really stuck in 1993. It's sad. I like David. Do you remember there was a movie called Half Baked with David Chappelle?
Yeah.
David was in that movie.
Yeah.
And he was funny and he was talented.
He had a very promising career.
He did.
But I think the main I think MTV really needs to step in because MTV played a part of using David as a storyline, ratings, not helping them out then. And I think now if they're really about doing the right thing, that they need to really step in, bring the
They would
counseling.
step in, Ranu, if they were human. They probably said, "Hey, David, go back on the show, come back on the show, and give Tammy a piece of your mind. Hey, Tammy, let David know."
You're
You know what I
right.
mean?
You're right.
But the thing with David is that it's not just Tammy against him. It's Beth. It's Irene. You know, it's not just Tammy. So then, because like they're like, and he said on the phone, he was like, Tammy controls this house.
Well, were the other
She does
people?
do it. She
What
does.
the other people say? What are they saying about it? The rest of the cast.
When this last episode, it was like they didn't know what to do because the last Beth, I think it was Beth S. Her nephew was about to come in because he was just coming out as transgender, and they were about to have a conversation about it because this episode was really about Beth S. and her being the first lesbian or LGBT person on TV. Period. And so they were supposed to bring the nephew on because he was, or I don't know if it's he or she, I don't remember what it was, but they were coming out as transgender, and so they would have that conversation. I think that Irene had somebody coming as well, but they couldn't have it because of Tammy and David. And so
pathetic.
they
Really?
were like, it was really like white people didn't know what it was like. Black people going, "Wow, we don't know what to do."
Yeah, yeah.
Don't come today because the energy in the house is crazy. I don't know who's fighting. It just made us as black people look bad. I'm like, Tammy, why add insult into injury and bring your husband over here for this? Have production take David out of the house, or you leave out of the house just like you left when that stuff happened the first time, and let it go.
So Tammy's arguing on any show that she's on. Tammy's arguing.
Yeah.
On every show. Think about it. Any show that she's on, she's arguing.
Yeah.
On the reality shows, at least, we don't know what she does on her scripted shows.
Well, she
respects the people on her scripted shows more than she does on reality shows.
Yeah.
I think so. Or we just don't know about it. She could be saying, "I want my glass of water." You know how she is. I don't know. She's argumentative.
Weeks before the filming when he was on his bicycle when he got to the accident.
Do you guys think that MTV should cut David a check right now and say this is for your pain and suffering?
They're not going to do that. So
They're not going to do it. That would be the nice thing to do, but I don't think they're going to do it.
They're not going to do that. Yeah. Because everybody's responsible for your own life, right? Okay, so I keep saying this and people don't understand it. David has to fix this for himself.
Yeah, it is a self reflection thing. Yeah. Regardless to who caused it or whatever played out, it is a self reflection thing. It's almost like, I mean, for me, like when I had to do the thing with my music, like I had to do a self reflection and self apology, look into my self situation, and move on with my life. Mm-hmm. At this point, 28 years later, I mean, you're probably not get the career you're supposed to have. Right. It's over at this point.
Let me ask you this. Did David, what did he say? Did he say, "I'm a different person back then and I apologize"? Did he apologize?
No, what he said was, "I didn't know." He's like, "How? I don't."
No, he did apologize.
I didn't know that you had body dysmorphia.
But he did apologize. Everybody, the first one, all apologized, right?
And she just didn't hear it.
But now they apologize, but they're still trying to paint him out to be the same person, you know.
Yeah, because now Beth is still picking at him.
So if he's the same person, then Beth is the same person. Irene still being as judgmental as she was. The boys.
I don't think Irene is being judgmental. Huh? I think Irene has changed a lot.
Did she?
Yes.
How did she change?
I think
Irene was the one who actually apologized to him and didn't keep this thing going on. Because she was the one who said, "I'm going to call the cops and say the R word." She did apologize to him. And
but think about when she does her profession. But think about when she does her confessional. She's still like, "Here goes David again. He's being that angry person and yada, 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 yada."
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. Oh, this is complicated. They all do their
and Beth is doing it. Beth is doing it too. Beth is doing it too.
Yep.
Oh, this is a mess.
If he's being the same person that he was, Beth is being exactly who she was then.
Beth is definitely stepping back into who she was. Absolutely, she is.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you guys watch the MTV Challenge, right? And I do.
I watch that too.
So every time Beth comes on there, she's that exact same messy person.
Oh God,
nobody ever want Beth on their team.
Yeah, she's a trip. It's crazy.
That's just who she is.
Yeah. Anyway, so Deb, when are you gonna come back on? Because I'm gonna come back.
Probably on Monday.
Okay.
What are you gonna be talking about, my brother?
I don't know. I gotta figure out something to talk about, but I know I'm gonna be back probably next Wednesday because that's when this episode. I mean, probably next Thursday because that's when the episode comes out. Well, maybe probably Wednesday because I watch it in the morning. That's when the episode comes out.
I'll be
Okay.
back for part 2.
Me
Okay.
too.
All right, y'all. Good
I
night.
appreciate
Thanks
you
for
guys for
bringing me
joining.
All
up.
right. Bye,
Bye.
Sherelle.
Bye, Ranu.
Bye. I appreciate you for joining as well. I didn't know if anybody was going to join because I don't know who's watching it. The last time I did it, nobody was. It was like we ain't watching that.
Well, I had to join, man, because a lot of stuff that you said, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, finally somebody's voicing how I feel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've never since that's happened. I've never ever agreed with what happened with him.
Yeah.
I've always been like, this is why I had such a hard problem with liking Tami. Even though I like her, I've had a hard problem with it.
Mhm. Well, like I
Not
told you,
just
I don't
saying
like her
it is.
because I just see the same behavior over and over, and I just never like bullies. And Tammy's a bully to me.
Yeah.
She's good entertainment. She's good TV, but she's a bully.
I don't protect my energy. I don't think that he accepted her apology at all. I don't think that he did. I tried to watch with my Paramount code keeps messing up.
Yeah, he did. He did the first 2 episodes. He did, and they hugged and everything. And remember, going on past some episodes, you've seen how they try to coexist and be friendly toward
But I
each
still don't
other.
think he's accepted her apology because honest, as a man, as a person who wanted this career, how could you even forgive that?
You mean truly accepted the apology? Yeah, I don't think he truly accepted it, but I don't think her apology.
He keeps on saying he's like, I'm watching y'all. Like especially with Beth, he's like, I'm watching y'all. My daughter is saying, don't come on here and fall for the same okie doke.
But D, if you was in his situation, wouldn't you come in guarded too?
Oh, I'm absolutely coming in guarded
and angry?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they need to. I've always thought about this. They need to do a reality show like a similar to to the Celebrity Apprentice, but have all housewives, but bring in like Nene, Tami, Marlo,
New York.
You know, get like 10 of them and see how that works out.
I would love to see that.
Wouldn't that be dope?
I would love to see that.
So Bravo, if you're watching me, I pitched it first.
I would love to see that. I think that would be dope to see who's the. I'm gonna tell you who I think is gonna win that though.
Who?
New York.
Yeah, she's very strategic.
She don't give a damn.
Yeah, and I fell in love with her from the first time I saw her on Flavor of Love.
Yeah.
And what I love that she said, I'm not here to be best friends with you bees. I'm here for Flav.
Diabetes. I'm gonna have to check that out. I never heard of that, but I will check that out and see what that's about. I might do that. Young Rich said that was the same year Kenya Moore won Miss USA and Janet Jackson's. If that's how long it's been, but they can't get over that trauma.
Well, Janet Jackson's still dealing with the Super Bowl trauma. If you want to talk about
true.
that, so
I'm sorry. If I was David, I'm carrying that to my grave.
Mm-hmm.
How much money did he lose off of that?
Who, Dave?
Yeah,
probably millions.
Protect My Energy AC said, I probably wouldn't be there, or they'd know I'm there for the check. Keep your Apollo lie. Don't come at me with the BS. Just cut my check. Seriously, y'all owe me this check. They both agreed to come back for the show. Don't blame one over the other. I'm not blaming one over the other, but what I'm saying is, if I was David One, I would not have came back. If I did, what Protect My Energy said, I would have came there and I would have done like Monique said. I would have done on what she would have done. On Potomac, I'd be like, yep, nope, nope. I would have gave them dust just to collect my check. Well, Janet was 2004. That's more recent. Okay, cool. It's premieres Tuesday night. Okay, I will look at it on demand too. I'd be boring. Yep, I will be so boring. It depends on what you do to me. If I ever forgive you, I will get on with my life, but you won't be a part of it. You know, that's real shit. I mean, kudos to David for even coming back. Because the only way I would have come back is they would have promised me that they was gonna get an apology, and it was not gonna be no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Not just apology. I want a check too. What's the check looking like? What that bag?
I would have came from the apology by itself. I mean, at this point, I'm not gonna get no check, but I would have came from the apology by itself to
But they
vindicate.
are getting paid every episode they're on there,
Yeah.
you know. So I'll be like, what is my check gonna look like?
David doesn't have a whole career. Her documentary is coming later this month. Who, Tammy's?
Oh, Janet's. He's talking about Janet on the 28th of this month. She's doing a documentary that she produced.
Joking. It's not. I have a lot to say, but I'll reserve my comment. I know you do, Cindy. You know, whenever you want to come up, because you know, me, you we have good conversations. This is my sentiments off the bat with Protect My Energy Aids. He says, accusing one of the R word is not a joking matter. It's not a oops, my bad situation either. It should have never happened, and it should have been corrected immediately.
SoDebNair, can I ask you a question on another subject?
Sure.
So, are you following the whole Portia fiasco?
I'm not following what's going off of that show she has. No.
Okay.
I just can't keep it. None of it's real to me. I don't think it's real. And this show makes me really think that it's not real. Thank you so much. Enjoy, and we'll look for your lives. Have to run and pick up my daughter from work. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you subscribe to the channel. They're friends anyway. Who's friends? It's actually no joking matter at all. Portia TV special. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what Cindy got to say. Cindy will give you the tape. Well, what's that noise?
Oh, that's my computer, so I'm probably gonna have to get out of here. Sometimes it gets hot and the fan starts doing that crazy. Yeah. But thank you for having me up, sir.
No problem. Anytime. All right.
All right.
Yes, please remember to hit that like button, y'all. Cindy, I will drop the link for you if you want to come up here, because I would love to hear what you have to say. Oh, damn. I'm like, who's getting it? But I really did enjoy this live. I was trying to get busy to do it with me earlier, but busy. Well, yesterday and then today, busy. So couldn't get it to come up here, but I really did enjoy this. I'm so glad that Sherelle stopped by. Do we need a cash app him a new computer? Not a haircut. Y'all a mess. Cindy, come on, click on that link because I want to hear what you got to say. I love Cindy's opinion, especially on the Basketball Wives. So I know she got some good stuff to say. Was it busy being busy? I know what you meant. Protect my energy. But if y'all haven't been watching it, it is a good season on Paramount Plus. It's definitely worth the. I think it's like $5.90 or $4.99. It's a really good one. It's a really good one, and they have the games new season on there as well, so you can watch 2 shows. I think I'm going to come on maybe Monday and kind of recap the full season of the game because it was really, really good. I know you guys are probably tired of them reviving that show, but this season was so dope. Cindy.
Hey, what's up, SoDeb?
It's been a long time. I ain't seen you in a while.
I know. I just had to take a social media break.
I understand.
It was too much happening. I just didn't like it. I'm very perceptive, and I just like the energy just was crazy. So I just had to get through the holidays and just disappear, kind of like you did, right?
Yes. You know I did.
Right. So I can't. I understand, and I did come in late, so I didn't get to hear your whole recap of the episode, but I just am so annoyed with those two. Like the same, like 28 years later, they still turned into the same 2 people. They still have the same dynamic. They still, all of them have, like you said earlier, Beth is just Beth. That's who she is. That's how she's always been. I've never liked her. She's always butting in and annoying and feeling like I'm protecting you. Please like me.
Yeah.
That whole pick me attitude.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed with her. But between David and Tammy, I'm going to focus on them.
Hmm.
I just don't understand. Like, after almost 30 years, one person can't be the bigger person. You know what I mean? Like, just disagree and then go talk in the confessional, but get
Yeah.
through your trip. Like, why would you ruin, some healing, some possible healing for yourself because you can't get past it?
Yeah.
I felt like in the beginning they tried to get past it and they
Yeah.
gave each other hugs and they're smoking out on the balcony. Great. But then when we get to, once again, their main issues, like, I didn't like that David was laughing. I understand he thought it was funny at the time, but 30 years later, you're like Sherelle said, you're still stuck thinking it's funny.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's upsetting someone else, right? So even if you personally still think behind closed doors it's funny, you don't know, you haven't learned enough to not laugh. I mean,
I agree with
or
you.
or make light. And then Tammy calling her husband in, he's not part of the show, girl. Just be a part of the show.
Right.
You know, I mean, do what she did when they went to what is it, the retreat with Eric. Where'd they go?
Oh yeah, when she
To
didn't
the
go.
desert. And
Yeah.
she didn't go. So remove yourself that way.
Right.
You
Right.
didn't want to go. You had a bad experience. I remember the first time. She was pregnant, she was sick. They didn't have any accommodations, like they did this time. But
Right.
I'm just saying, like, if you feel like it's getting that serious, even though it was annoying and really immature and petty of him
Hmm.
to get on the phone and walk back and forth, just say what you have to say to her. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, are you not an adult? Do you not have
Right.
the ability to just sit
Right.
there and say, I am uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about this. You are making me upset. You are triggering me. I
Right.
feel like you're painting. But so now once again, and I felt like this back then,
Hmm.
he's painting himself in this light. Now, did they make it worse? Absolutely. They made it worse,
Right.
right? But nobody's making him react the way that he's reacting. Nobody's forcing words out of his mouth. His behavior, he has to take accountability for his behavior.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't know. That's just me.
I guess I kind of feel like because it was a show, like I expected the ups and downs, but when it came
Right.
to that whole blanket thing, and then Irene said, "I'm gonna call the cops and scream the R word," it became serious. And so
That's
for that
true.
to be corrected, like immediately, instead of Tammy saying, "Hey, you leave or I leave, I'm uncomfortable. We can have no conversations." Like, to me, as a 10-year-old, I knew how problematic that was for a black man,
Right.
uh, especially since you did the same behavior the day before that with another person.
Right.
So
Right.
I understood that as a black man, this is not going to go down very well. So I'm expecting 28 years later, one, y'all should have been talking about this before 28 years later. But
Right.
two, when we do come back in the house, let's be mature about the situation and say, hey, let's not make it about body dysmorphia. Yo, we did you wrong.
I
Let's still,
agree.
let's
And
still,
she
let's
and
still, let's still address body dysmorphia.
I
But
agree. I agree. But listen, so Deb, she did start out with saying, once she said her piece, then
mhm,
he came back with, I didn't know they were going to put me in a house with a crazy person. That's not how you address someone with an issue, a mental issue, a physical issue, anything like that. Like, you don't sit there and call someone, that has a learning disability, the
right.
R word either. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not
I,
appropriate.
and I agree with you, but I also, and this is my own thing. This is nobody else's opinion but mine. But I feel like after you done screwed me for 28 years, let me live with this stigma. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth at this point
Right.
because you have
And I get that. I
destroyed
get that.
my whole thing. So
I
yes,
get
I'm going
that.
to say some off the wall things right now, but take it because I had to live with the R word for 28 years.
I agree with that. However, I feel like still he has to also not only feel like the victim, he has to take accountability for his actions too. And if somebody at 23 years old, you know what? Sometimes you can't say certain things.
Right.
I mean, I'm old and I have friends that have never said certain things ever that
Mhm.
were traumatic that happened to them. Like I know personally for Tami, when she was kind of, I forget what where I saw this, but it was like some sort of a documentary or something on her. Maybe it was unsung or whatever. But she had been, gang raped and like
Yeah.
kidnapped, and she had other issues too. So again, I'm not saying that excuses her part in it, but it does explain what, as a young woman, she had to go through. You know what I mean?
But it's
Like
also so that nobody knew those things. So
that's true.
you can't hold them accountable for those things that they didn't know that. And I think that's what David was saying, like with the body dysmorphia things. Like we didn't know that. So when he was watching it, it looked funny to him because until she said body dysmorphia, his whole thing changed.
Yeah. And I think
After she
I
addressed
think
that part,
that's
but
fair.
he did laugh because he thought it was still funny. He was like, y'all just did it the day before this, then we did it. Now he was more mad at Irene, but then she says by dysmorphia, then he changed his whole thing.
Yes, and I
So
totally get that.
the order of how things went, yes, I understand what you're saying, but if the order had went, before we even get into this conversation, I need you to understand the fact that this was happening. I
Right.
think that he might not have laughed because he didn't know that.
Right. I agree, but I still feel like, I mean, if his whole cast, all of the castmates, nobody else was laughing but him. You can't
Yeah.
read the room. You're grown at this point. You know what I
Well,
mean? That was 30 years
honestly,
ago.
I think the other people in the house didn't laugh because to me, and I think that David is very right in this. They're afraid of Tami,
They probably are.
so
They
they're not
probably are
going to laugh.
because they don't want to get called out into the mat. I was actually surprised that is it Glenn, the one that said the N word?
Yes, get Glenn.
Oh, okay. So the fact that he kind of like shut down immediately, I think that is such, I mean, they are really all the same.
Yeah,
I mean, all these years later, they were just the same, 20, almost 30 years ago.
I was
And
shocked
I
that
just,
Irene followed up behind him and said it.
I know. Me too. And I just feel like that's a thing with other minorities too, that
Yeah,
I'm finding, that I found throughout the years, is that they feel like because they're a minority too, they could also say it. No, you cannot.
yeah.
You still can't say it. You know what I
It
mean?
was like,
Like,
whoa, what is going? Everybody
right.
was going to say it in the house.
Right. And but she was appalled, like she was a black person being like, you can't say the N word. And she said
Right,
it. I'm like, you can't say it neither. I mean,
right.
that was funny because Tammy's whole face through that whole thing, I was
She
on the
was like,
floor. I
"What
was
is
cracking
happening
up.
in here?"
What's happening here? And I mean, look, I appreciate David having his opinion and all that, but I mean, I would have been looking at him sideways too, like, are
Now that
you serious?
conversation, I'm side-eyeing David all the way during that conversation.
Yeah, me too. Because I was just kind of like, how are you just sitting here as a black man who always wants to play the victim, as you're taking it, you've taken advantage or hurt this poor black man, and you are silent. This is your opportunity to be like, yes, f all of you guys. In fact,
Right.
it's because of you I
And
got kicked out of the house
frustrated
or
thinker, that's what
whatever.
we're talking about. Sorry.
Right.
Frustrated thinker, that's what we're talking about.
Got it. Oh. I mean, that episode to me was much more entertaining than this last one. It's just sad to me because I just feel like, I feel like Tami does have more to lose. However, David still is going to be in the loser
Yeah,
cycle because
yeah,
he keeps perpetuating that behavior. He literally has dropped all the way down. I don't know what has happened in his life since then, or what kind of relationships he's had, but I just feel like you cannot, when he was even talking about his family, wanting to beat Tami up because they hated her what she did, but nobody else can say at this point, like, go work on that issue for yourself so that you don't come across the same way again, which he does. He comes across the same way again.
yeah.
I mean,
And I wish they would have set him down and said, "Yo, when you go back into the situation, you have to go in a different way."
yes,
I think as a black man, it's just like it's sad that you have to, but it's also like you have to.
but you have
You
to.
can't come to
But
the
you have
situation the
to.
same way because what it's going to come off is you're the angry black man
Yes.
who don't forgive anything. You don't
Who
understand nothing
hasn't
that happened.
matured. He
Yeah,
said he looks immature. Like, like you want
yeah,
to at least look mature. If he wants to get some semblance of his his career back, this is not the way to go. He still comes across the same way, except for now he's talking about his daughter. So that makes him a little,
Yeah.
you have a little bit more like, oh, he has like a family. Whereas when he was younger, they were just like, you're an angry black kid, get out,
Yeah.
basically. But now you kind of see a smidge of, okay, he did have some sort of a life. But if you want to get your career on track, you don't come in here talking about and her weave and her this and my daughter's hair is long down to, down her
Yeah,
back. And
I didn't get the weave thing at all. It didn't make
I
any sense.
didn't, well, it was just to hurt her feelings. It was to hurt
Yeah.
Tami. It was to embarrass and hurt her instead of being mature enough to say, you know what? I don't like how you're talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove myself. If you want to have a conversation later, great. Let's have the conversation later. And
Yeah.
just leave it there. You know what I mean? Instead of
Yeah.
continuing on, because they had finished up. They were in the kitchen getting ready for, the kids coming, I guess, for their visit, and then it got sidetracked because they were sitting at the table, and here comes David on this cell phone. He could have stayed in his room if he really
I wish
just needed to
I wish
vent.
they would have both stopped talking about it though. Him and
Agreed.
Tammy. They
I
should have
agree.
both just cut it there and not talked about it anymore because they were both fueling each other. And
Agreed.
so because she wouldn't stop talking about it, I don't know if he was pretending to be on the phone or if he was really on the phone with somebody, but it was like they were taunting each other
They
instead of just
were.
like, yo, we just disagree on this conversation. Let's let it go and move on so that
Right.
Irene can bring her kids over here and let's really do what we want to talk about today, which was the whole LGBT thing. But they
Which
just
was which was bad.
it was so much tension between them, which it's
Yeah.
been there the entire time. It's been there, and
Right.
for them not to, and that's the thing. To me, it's like if they just don't, and I hope at the end of this, like they actually sit down and just address each other about
Right.
what's really going on between the two of them, because what it is that they both let each other down.
Agreed.
That's the issue. Tammy let David down because she let the R word go for 28 years. She's now
Yep.
came back and she's still doubling down with the rest of the cast instead of saying, yo, we messed up.
Right.
Let's let
Well,
this go.
she did, but so Deb, she did sort of do that. They did have that moment where she said, where they got to see the unseen footage when the production was talking to David, and she teared up and she said, "I am sorry that you had to do that. If they asked me at the moment, I wouldn't have handled it the same way."
Right.
I mean, she at least said that, okay?
But
And
I think that he's still stuck at 20. Again, like I said, I think he's still stuck at 20 years. I think just
yep,
hearing an apology 28 years later, it's going to take time to process that.
yep, I agree.
And I think
And then him being in that house is not helping him
it's
with
not
that
helping at
processing.
all, at
Yeah,
all, at
yeah,
all, at all.
yep. Like you said, they probably should have just had a one-on-one conversation
Yeah.
even before the show
Before
started
they started
shooting.
the season, and
Yep, for
then
sure.
come into the house. Let's agree to disagree, or let's just have a conversation and then come into the house. Because to me, it would have been they could have made so many great statements with that conversation, and then get
Right.
into the Black Lives Matter movement thing. Like to me, they could have came in and blew the world away.
I
But
think so
they're
too.
both failing to me.
Me too. They both are failing. They both, like we said, earlier, they've both fallen into the 20-year-old versions of themselves
Yeah,
instead of taking everything that they've experienced in life. I mean, I would, I would think having children, having had marriages, we've seen Tammy have her relationships, outside of this show, and finding Reggie and that whole thing, and
yeah,
even her fertility struggles. You would think those things matter. Those are the bigger pictures that would have taught them something about how to communicate their feelings, but they're both stuck. I feel like you guys were right earlier by saying that they both need therapy.
yeah,
But it's just sad to see that, again, the only two Black people that were represented on this show at that time, which was a big deal back then, still cannot get it together, and I
right,
don't like that Tammy allows, and I'm just going to say it like this, I don't like that Tammy allows the white people to like shield her, and then David
yeah,
gets all the hits,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just not right, I mean,
I think that's where I'm at too.
yeah. I mean, and she's right about him not speaking up about Black Lives Matter, but then why isn't she owning the responsibility of like, all of the white castmates are on my side and they're never on your side? She's not addressing that with him.
Right.
You know, if she ever put herself in
Because
his
even
shoes,
though, like, even see after after the first conversation, she threw that tantrum.
right, she did.
Well, why would they go outside with him and not come over here with me?
And not comfort me. And I'm
It's
just kind of like,
So since
girl,
then they have just flocked towards her. They will not, like, they are afraid not to.
right. But then when they do, she,
Yeah,
um, confronts them. She makes
yeah.
them feel, like she
Make them feel bad.
immediately when Beth said, yeah, when Beth went to David first and then came to her,
Yeah,
as soon as Beth got to her, she was like, well, I just shared something really important. So I don't
yeah,
understand why everybody isn't over here on my side.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
girl, you're not the only one with the side. You're not the only one with the
Right,
story.
right,
Like I just didn't love that she had that attitude because I was just like, you should be lucky that anybody is coming to you
right.
because she was wrong in that moment. You know,
That's very
I
true.
felt, I felt like she was, but I just
Because
feel
she had
like
just
I don't know,
revealed something that no one knew, and they
right,
felt bad for David because he didn't know that because
right. And he's had to
hindsight,
suffer for 30 years. He he
yeah,
he literally sacrificed his career because of his behavior.
yeah,
Now, we know that he had a part to play in his own behavior, right? But they
absolutely,
still
absolutely,
just sat there in silence.
right,
Nobody spoke up. They didn't go to MTV saying, hey, let's go and have a makeup session with David. How is David doing? Nobody, like Tammy said, she was like, I haven't talked to any of these people except for, was it John or
John.
whomever?
Because Beth
I
said she tried
mean,
to inbox her on Instagram, and she said, "Well, I mean, we don't talk, so you probably said it in that little in that backstage thing."
right. And we all know that that's, she was just lying. She didn't want to talk to her. She didn't want to
Right,
talk to any of them,
right,
because her star was on the rise and she felt
right,
like, she outgrew the real world, right? It's so
right,
interesting that when she was on Basketball Wives and doing her, sitcoms here and there, on the black channels, she felt like she outgrew the real world. And shortly after leaving Basketball Wives, guess where she's right back at? She's right back at
right.
the real world
Yep,
where everybody knew her, you
yep.
know? I mean, so
Well, the thing is,
like
a lot of people didn't even realize that. 'Cause honestly, it took me a while to realize that she was on the Real World. So she kept saying, I was the first one. I'm like, I remember Heather B being the first one,
me
and so I
too.
had to go
First
back
of all,
and watch
Heather
the
was.
yeah, she
Yep.
was.
Yep.
But I was like, wait a minute. So she was. So she said she's the first black woman that was on the Real World, but she wasn't. And
No.
then
She was
that's what
she was
subjected
the
to the whole
second.
David. They were like, that's the same girl that did stuff to David.
Right. I mean, you like you and Sherelle said earlier, I'm not saying all of this. I'm just telling you my opinion on her behavior right now in this season. I don't dislike Tammy. I actually like Tammy.
Me too.
I
That's what
just
me and Cheryl said.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I just feel like, in this situation, either don't show the clip of that
Right,
without them having had a conversation and then coming back to the house, to try to clear it up. I feel like they would have, we still would have gotten some fireworks because their dynamic as a cast is
right,
exactly the same. So we still
right,
would have got that without
right,
them having to not have the conversation and then have it blow up to the thing where the husband's coming to the house and all of this stuff. Like it's just
right.
ridiculous, and embarrassing, frankly. But
Yeah,
since that did not happen and we are here, you would like to think at some point one of the two, preferably, in my opinion, Tammy, to say, you know what, that was 30 years ago.
right,
You made a mistake. I made a mistake. I didn't like, or, even though I felt that way about it, I didn't have to handle it that way. I didn't know anything about production. Let's just be done with it and move on, because I don't need to keep seeing interviews where David's still angry and walking off. And he is perpetuating that angry black person,
yeah.
angry black man, and she's perpetuating the angry black woman, role. It's just annoying at this point,
And I
And
hate
Beth,
this. I hate this. See,
and
like
Beth, by the way, is a Karen.
I thought she was, and exactly. I really
Right.
thought she came back on a different platform because she kept on saying
Me
how
too.
bigger she was than the Basketball Wives. This was her, she was the first black woman. This is what she was saying. So I'm like, I just knew she came back to prove the point that, like, yo, I stand
I'm better.
for my shit. I'm a pillar in reality TV. Let's
Yep.
fix some things to make sure that my legacy goes down the right way. And it's like
Right.
she threw that out the window.
She did. I mean, and so did David. He had the
Yeah.
opportunity to come back and say, I'm not going to be triggered and, respond immaturely to anything, especially with anything that Tammy says.
I didn't expect David to come back like that at all, though. I never
I
thought
didn't
it
either.
would.
Frankly, I didn't like him then. I don't like him now for
Yeah,
many reasons. However, but I'm just saying, in light of trying to get his some sort of career back on
yeah.
track, just come
I think
in
he's too
and
old for a career now, though.
well do something. I mean, John is too old either, but he's shooting his shot for the country music.
It ain't
There's
gonna
old
happen.
country people.
It ain't gonna happen.
You know what? Even if it doesn't, you don't sit there and look at him and hate him. He still has a job doing something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
what is David
Wait,
doing?
wait. Bayou Girl said, did anyone did anyone see how long it took them to make Rice Krispie treats? I'm gonna
All
keep buying
right.
them out of the box.
Again, that
And
I
see,
think that's
and see,
editing.
even that part even makes it was cringeful to me because he's like, I didn't even know that Reggie liked Rice Krispie treats
Rice
because I wouldn't
Krispie
get him
treats.
Rice Krispie treats, so he wouldn't be upset.
Right.
I'm like, see, this is what I'm saying, Tammy. Why did you call this man to this house?
Right.
Even John was like, well, let him know I'm not David.
Right.
I'm like, this is so triggering for me as a black man because it's like,
Yes.
it wasn't coming to the house and it's like she never was. Oh, I don't even get
Well,
around about
it's just like either so he was fearful of either the police getting him or
it. Yeah,
a castmate's husband. So he
yeah,
was screwed either way, right? He
yeah.
they wouldn't allow him back in the house as long as Reggie was there. So it really literally turned back to 28 years later.
I
Whereas
wish.
when Tammy said, "I'm not going to be in the house if he is."
And then she's like, babe. I says, you just called him in the house to cause confusion. You
Exactly.
should never
I mean,
call him.
obviously, if he feels like you want him to protect you, you called
Right.
him there for that reason. And then you
Yeah.
expect David to come back to do what? He had already left the house. So what was he supposed to be called back to do? Or rather, they took him out of they removed him from the house.
Yeah.
So once again, when you saw it playing out like it played out the last time, you're gonna add calling your husband into the mix?
It's the same thing. It
It's
was
the
like,
same
I mean,
thing. It really is the same thing, and
amazing.
it really is sad and
Yeah.
embarrassing. I mean, to look at everybody so much older and you guys are still behaving the same way.
And then she
Uh,
put it off on him. She said, what David is doing, he's showing that he's not the same. He's the same person from back. I'm like, so are you.
Yes, she is.
You're doing the same exact thing that you did, just like he is. Both
They're
of y'all
both the
are
same.
y'all making all of us look bad on this season.
Yes,
Like the last when they did it with the Heather B thing, like it and the other guys, it like they really fixed the stuff.
right.
But
But
y'all are
again,
doing
that
the
that shows
same
that shows
thing.
that shows maturity. And
Yes.
then, for all we know, that it also could be, maybe they don't have the level of trauma that both David and Tammy have. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
just have to grow past certain things. There are
Yeah.
certain people, that I know that, I just don't need that energy in my life. I've decided that I don't need it. I'm fine with it. So if you don't want that energy, then don't put yourself back in the house with someone that may still have it, right? Like,
And
she
yeah.
didn't have to come back
And then she came back in and said, I feel like we handled the first time the wrong way.
the
I
wrong
don't want
way.
nobody to leave.
Right. And then she also came in
But
saying,
your
like,
husband is
I'm
running around the house like a wild ass.
right.
Like, no, no,
And
no,
re- and re-
no.
and refusing to leave. But then remember too, in the very first episode when she was just like, I'm gonna start off being like, hi, because I was so closed off the first time. And I'm
Yeah,
like, girl, but just be real. You don't have to
right,
smile, grin in anybody's face, number
right,
one. And you don't have to come in and just be like, I'm side-eyeing you and I don't even know you kind of attitude. You know
right.
them. You guys obviously have a history. This helped to launch her career because nobody knew her before then.
Right.
So you would think that you would genuinely want to come in and and just kind of have a different experience.
Right.
But she already started out to me on the wrong foot by saying that I'm going to come in and try to just, greet everybody with like a smile when I didn't do that before. No, just be you.
Yeah.
That's what you should be at this age. Like we're 50 and into the 50s now. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And I
yeah,
agree with Bayou Girl. Production should have made Tammy's ass leave for creating a hostile situation. I agree with that.
I agree. I agree too. That's a really good point by you, Val.
Because
That's a really good
there were
point.
so many men in the house. There was production in the house. She did not need to call Reggie. I feel like she made Reggie look like a fool.
I agree too. You know, and
And I
he
didn't
just
like
fell
that.
right into it. But
Yeah.
again, once again, like we were saying, like in basketball wise, that's kind of like her manipulation. Like,
Yeah.
you know, with Shawnee, she kind of does that too. Like, let me get real tight with the EP and
Yeah.
then I'll be safe somehow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
she just, like you said, there were other people around that could have helped to diffuse the
Because
situation.
John was even saying, it was like, if he comes, we're just going to put David upstairs on the rooftop. We're going
Right.
to separate them. Like, they already had a plan for how to even handle the situation. So
I
it was
know.
no reason to come to that house. It was no reason.
But
And
it was it's so funny though too. So Deb, what you said earlier when you were just like none of the everybody, all the white people were just kind of like, what do we do? There are angry black people around here. What do we
yeah,
do? I
and
mean,
that's how
it
they
really
were.
did feel
You
like that.
seen it. You seen it.
Yep, yep. It was just like that. It
It was
really
like
was.
black
I was
people
kind of
running
like
wild in the
tripping.
house. Don't call the
What
kids
do we
over.
do? Oh my God!
What do we do?
Right.
Let's make him a Rice Krispie treat. Can you make him a hamburger, please? Like it, it
So
was like it was.
crazy.
I hated the whole situation.
Me too. And then everybody, like,
Does he like
everybody be
cheese
like,
on his hamburger? Can you put cheese on his hamburger?
no, because they must have been melting the butter for the Rice Krispie treats for like an hour and a
I
half. What is going on with the Rice Krispie treats?
know.
I was just like, I've never known it to take so long. It's like MTV editors, what are you doing with the Rice Krispie treats? And stop weaving it into this like volatile situation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
focus on one thing and let that be that. But yeah, I mean, but they were going to deal with it anyway, and they should have been able to, as adults, deal with it regardless of them stuck on 28 years later. Like, I mean, somebody should stand up, which they haven't, and they probably won't, with Tammy and say, we have another focus right
Yeah.
now, and it's not you, it's Beth. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, let her and Irene have their little moment. We heard about you and David. We didn't like it then. We don't like it now. Nobody likes it.
Right.
Like, let's move on.
We did with this
That didn't happen.
the first episode. We did with this already.
Yes. But it keeps dragging on to every episode.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. I don't want to hear about it anymore. We saw it. Nobody liked it. They didn't even like it. David didn't like it personally. Tammy didn't like it. Nobody liked it. Like,
Yeah.
I was so mad that, of course, they're just going to bring it up, at the very beginning, and it's just going to really run the season. I even saw an interview with the cast, and they were on ET, and David walked off then because, once again, Reggie was behind the scenes, I guess, saying something to him. That's not professional. Tammy, if she's
Yeah.
built this career and at least made a career, let's just say, over the 30 years, why would she jeopardize that by continuously having him on the set, knowing that it's going to create, an uneasiness for David?
Yeah.
Clearly he's not in the right headspace to deal with it. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. I know it's super late your time.
Yes.
These are my thoughts. I have a lot.
I so appreciate you. I'm so glad to see you again.
Oh, thank
And I
you.
know that we love the basketball wives and the Tammys and everything. So I was really glad you joined this conversation. I will be coming back on next Wednesday to do the part 2 to this because I know part 2 is coming next Wednesday. So
Yep.
if you're around, please come on. I will bring you up so we can talk about it together. But I
Okay.
love when we talk about basketball wives and all that stuff together. Because you are like,
Thank you so
know what's
much, SoDeb. Thank you so
going
much. You're such a sweetheart. I'm sorry I've been away, but I'm back.
on.
I've watched the whole season. I'll be
Okay.
watching, and I'm happy to pop in if you want me to.
No problem. Definitely next Wednesday, like I said, I will be doing it again. So please pop up over here so we can talk about it because I know that's when the episode releases. I'll probably do it Wednesday night.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, sweetheart. Have a good
It's
night.
good to see you.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, y'all. I'm getting out of here. I really enjoyed this conversation, from Sandra Sutton to all of her different views to people who agree with me. I enjoyed everybody's comments. I love people who have different views. I mean, I love that. So everybody doesn't agree. But I definitely enjoyed you guys. If you guys are new over here, you haven't already done it, subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications, hit that little bell. Turn them on all so you get notified every time I go live. Like the video, share the video. Please comment in the comment section under the video, not in the chat, but in the comment section, so we get into the algorithm. And I will see you guys probably on Monday. I'll make them on tomorrow, but probably on Monday. I love you guys so much. Thank you for sticking with me. I know it's late. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for Sherelle for coming over here. And the other guy, I forgot what his name was, but kind of some hand on my heart. But I enjoyed you guys. Thank you for all of my people. Healthier Than Mel, Protect My Energy, and Chris. I know you guys are surprised, but thank you for becoming my new mods to my channel as well. Miss Reed will guide you guys. You guys will watch Miss Reed with how we run the channel. But I did make you guys mods to the channel, so surprise, surprise. But I am getting out of here. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next live. Bye.